Yo, what's going on, guys? And today I'm gonna be doing a Drajeweled Masque Deck Profile. And yeah, let's get right into it. Drajeweled Masque is definitely one of those new decks that just came out for English, but it came out in Japanese for like probably a few months ago. And not gonna lie, Drajeweled Masque is a pretty good deck, but compared to a lot of Masque decks, it's actually quite mediocre. But I feel like Drajeweled Masque definitely has a potential to be a meta threat. It's more of like a rogue deck, if I'm being honest. Like, if you're talking about meta decks, there's definitely Diva, Chronojet, and possibly Minerva. But if you were to be the Drajeweled Masque player and you have the right pieces and the right timing, then yeah, Drajeweled Masque is definitely a very, very scary deck to play against those kind of decks. So, starting off with the right line, it's pretty basic, just these 4 cards. A Jewel Core to be able to call itself out from the soul when it wrote upon by Jewel Neil, and then it could plus 5k power while attack or boost it goes back in soul. And then for Jewel Neil to just soul charge a card, and if you have 3 or more grades in your soul, you can draw a card when it's on ride from the Jewel name in his name. And when an attack hits a Vanguard, it can soul charge 1, which is nice. And for this Jewel, basically putting your opponent to 1, and the additional skill is Counter Blast 1, soul charge 2. If you soul charge 2 different grades, you can draw a card. It's pretty nice. So, starting off with the grade 3s, I run 4 copies of Drajeweled Masque because of Persona Ride, 3 copies of the original Drajeweled, and 3 copies of Mask of the Hydreigon. 4 copies of Drajeweled Masque because Persona Ride wins you games, and its skill is pretty good as well, because to be able to retire your opponent and dropping your opponent to 1 is really, really sexy. And its additional skill is you can remove a Drajeweled card other than this card in its name from your hand, soul, or drop. Choose 2 cards from the drop and put it into your soul, and this unit gets +1 crit until the end of turn. And yeah, to be able to just retire your opponent, drop them to 1, and get an extra crit on the Vanguard is really, really nice for a Masque unit, and it brings a lot of pressure to it, especially when this deck relies on multi-attacking. So therefore, yeah, having your Vanguard just sitting at 23 with 2 crit is really, really scary for your opponent. And for Drajeweled, I run more of them because to be able to remove Drajeweled from game and to be able to get the crit as much as possible is really nice as well. And 3 copies of Mask of the Hydreigon. I was contemplating to run 4, but then when I run 4 of it, there isn't much space in the deck for you to be able to run 4. And I feel like 3 is like the best number. You'd see this all the time in your hand, or if possible, if you're really lucky, 2 of them goes in your damage. But for now, 3 is definitely the best number in my opinion. And yeah, that's it for the grade 3s. And for the grade 2 slots, I run 4 copies of VANGUARD, 4 copies of Empousa, and 1 copy of Cranium Burner. Yeah, I mean, VANGUARD is always going to be a staple 4 to be able to just restand and Counter Blast 1 if you use your Vanguard Soul Blaster 4 or more for the turn, and to be able to get 10k power if you fulfill both of those requirements, which are if you're attacking a grade 3 unit and you have 4 different grades in your soul, which is a very, very nice card to have in your deck. And then for Empousa, this is the promo that literally saves the deck. Without this promo, this deck will struggle a lot, and there are just not that many grade 2s in Dark States right now, at least for Drajeweled, sadly, to be able to replace Empousa at the moment. So if I were to be honest, this deck list don't really work as well if you don't have Empousa. And Empousa, her skill is in the front row. If your Vanguard says ability Soul Blast 4 or more within this turn, if you didn't stand a rear guard with any abilities with this in this turn, you can restand this unit, and at the end of the turn, you can retire this unit and choose a grade 2 or higher from your soul and add it to your hand. This card also exactly the same as VANGUARD. Don't really restrict around Drajeweled, but because Drajeweled is probably one of those only decks that could Soul Blast 4 once it attacks, then yeah, like this card is really, really good, honestly. Like, this card single-handedly saved Drajeweled Masque, and it just made the deck extra consistent, makes the deck a bit more flexible, a bit easier to play. And yeah, this card is definitely a 4 of. And if you guys don't have your hands on this card, like, you guys can still play Drajeweled Masque, but you guys will just struggle a bit more, because VANGUARD is the only form of multi-attack you have in your deck. So therefore, yeah, having 2 of these together is definitely the best option. And I run 1 copy of Cranium Burner for that counter charge, and to be able to just give that pressure at the first grade 3 turn is really nice as well. So what I mean by that is it's able to give itself 2k power when you attack, and whilst you have a Drajeweled Vanguard, and if you Soul Blaster 4 or more by any Vanguard effect within this turn, you can retire this unit and you can counter charge 1. So the reason why this card is very annoying is because, so let's say that you dropped your opponent to 1, right? Like you use your dual skill and you drop your opponent to 1. And if your opponent checks a damage trigger, then he gets plus 10k, right? But it's 10k in 1. But when you attack with Cranium Burner, it requires minimum a 5k shield from hand to be able to guard this card, which is very funny. It's something that I've really noticed. That extra 2k power is very, very annoying. And Cranium Burner is like that one card that I always love to have in my deck. And I really did like running Skull Cameras at the start. I used to run maybe 2 of them in the deck, but this deck runs around balanced ratios for you to avoid soul charging 2 of the same grades. Yes, sure, it like running Skull Cameras will consistently give me that Mask of Hydrogen in my hand and give me the extra Dragon Tree marker. But this deck doesn't really have that much space for me to run Skull Cameras. So and it feels like running 1 is kind of meaningless compared to me running Cranium Burner, and I feel like Cranium Burner definitely gives it more value than Skull Camera because it refunds the Counter Blast and it also gives that extra pressure. So therefore, yeah, I just prefer Cranium Burner more. And for the grade 1s, I run 4 copies of Brainwash Swirler and 3 copies of Fall Kick Performer. 4 copies of Brainwash Swirler because it's just a really good card to have in Drajeweled. To be able to just Soul Charge 1, get power, and when you on play Soul Charge 1 is really nice. It filters your deck as well. It loses a card from your deck, so therefore you have a higher chance of getting triggers, and you have a higher chance of Soul Charging different cards. And Fall Kick Performer is always going to be consistent because, so one of the biggest problems that I face as a Drajeweled player myself is that I would never really see a grade 3 in my soul. And if I have a grade 3 in my hand and I ditch it early, and by calling Fall Kick Performer, I'm able to tuck that grade 3 into soul. So therefore, yeah, it gives that extra consistency of me being able to constantly use your jewels to reduce your Vanguard to 1 skill, which is very nice. And the reason why I love Brainwash so much in this deck is not just because the card is good itself. And the reason why Brainwash also is really good on this deck, it's because if you don't see Lokwaguru or Empousas at the start of your grade 3 turn, Brainwash Swirlers can go up to really high numbers with just having these 2 in the front row. And Brainwash Swirlers can literally be a very good front row unit. And I feel like Brainwash is really flexible in that sense because it's able to become a booster or a front row rear guard. And a lot of great ones in Dark States just can't do things that Brainwash can do. And yeah, and for the normal Juju to be able to Sky Blast 1, Soul Charge 2 to draw your card is really nice. And the best part about that is that they both get 10k power just from activating that effect. So you're basically paying 1 Counter Blast to get 10k to each of them, and you have 2 soul and you draw a card. That is a really good skill. Like, I genuinely love Brainwash so much. Like, at the start, I used to run a Gungram over Brainwash, but then when I slowly started playing the deck a bit more, I just love running Brainwash in this deck so much. And Michiru also runs Brainwash in his deck in anime, and I love Michiru so much. So yeah, I'm just following my favorite Vanguard players' build in Overdress. So yeah. Yeah, I just really love Juju Mask a lot, and this deck is one of those decks that I genuinely have fun playing. And yeah, I mean, sorry about me, ranting about how much I love Juju Mask, and I forgot to showcase you because with this last grade 1 because I'm an idiot. I want 4 copies of PGs. Yes, I don't have the Blitz order anymore. I don't really know where it is. I remember I kept it somewhere, but I have to find it. It's around my house. And anyways, this is just the PG, the standard PG. If you have 1 card less, you don't really need ditch. And for the triggers, I run 8 crits and 1 bang green crit, 3 draws and 4 heals, 3 of the normal heals and 1 effect trigger heal. And the over trigger, I run the elemental one rather than the Dark States over trigger. So starting off with 8 crit because crit wins games, and being able to pressure your opponent to just constantly checking crit triggers is really annoying for your opponent because this deck really plays around pressuring your opponent as much as possible. And even if you damage deny your opponent and when you attack with your Jewel, it could either sit at 1 or 2 crit, and for you drive checking more critical triggers, you're able to just give it to your rear guard. So not only is your Vanguard with 2 crit, your rear guard is also with 2 crit as well. And I run draws because if you damage check them, like, it's just a very flexible trigger to be checked. It can be checked in the damage, you can draw a card, it can be checked in the drive, you can draw a card. except from hand. And the hand is just a 10k shield, which is still pretty nice. And for the heal triggers, I used to run the stand, the stand effect trigger. So where was it? Let me just show you guys what it is. It's this one. Yeah, this one. But I've noticed that when my opponent usually stands, the power really doesn't matter because it doesn't really have 2 crit on it. Or even if the standing rear guard is unguardable, I can just PG anyway. But for the 2 crit units that are attacking, for example, like Roman Prison Dragon or Gandiva, you have to have this. Just slap it down, 38 shield, just straight up. It really helps a lot in situations like that. And I run 3 of the regular heals because 15k shield, consistent 15k shield is really nice. And yeah, last but not least, for the over trigger, I don't run the Dark Scissors over trigger because my Vanguard already gets +1 critical anyway. So, and it's a very nice over trigger to check in the early game, but Drajeweled Masque really pushes for late game. So therefore, I really prefer this Craniamental over trigger in my Drajeweled deck. And the reason why it's so good is because its ability to be able to give any units +100 million, and to be able to give a standing rear guard the ability of when attacking a restand. But if I don't have anything on the board, I can call a card from my hand to the rear guard, which is really nice. Because with Drajeweled Masque, you're able to attack with 2 rear guards and then attack with your Vanguard and then restand with both rear guards. And then if you drive check this over trigger, either Yoko Good or Empousa can attack 1 more time. So therefore making a 6 attack combo deck, which is really scary. And thank you guys so much for watching this Drajeweled Masque deck profile. And let me know if what you guys think about this deck profile. And I know it just came out in English, so I just wanted to show you guys on what I run and give you guys a bit of ideas on how you want to build around the Drajeweled deck. And will I be taking this deck to the tournaments? Definitely will, and I will definitely post it on my channel. And yeah, this is probably one of those Vanguard decks that I'm genuinely having a lot of fun playing. And yeah, you guys will see more different TCG content on my channel very soon. And that's it. That's pretty much it for me today. And I'll be back very soon, guys. Thank you guys so much for watching. Love y'all. Keep playing TCGs. Support your locals. And see y'all very soon.